tremendous community interest. Very great to see that. And I'd just like to ask Mr. Thayer is here. There he is. I invite him to come from CAPS TV. So I'd actually like to perhaps get an update from Ms. Marilyn about status of what has happened, just briefly if you could, and then we'll go into what next steps.
Well, at this point, the City Council has directed us to go back out to RFP, to do a formal RFP, which was not the process that we used before. We did an informal RFP. The group that had received the MOU is no longer, well, council asked us to then move on to starting from scratch, basically. So in the discussions the council had at their last meeting on June 30th, July 30th? July 30th, we received, we understood the direction to be that because Councilmember Padilla brought up whether the Cultural Arts Committee could be taking a look at I believe, the manual that could be Cultural Arts Committee then be taking a look at how this process was going to move forward. So that's why I'm here and see what direction I get from Councilman.
Okay, I personally have some questions about whether that effort should be under the auspices of this committee going forward, but that's something we can discuss. But I would, before we start and have public comment, I'd like to ask Mr. Thayer, who's from CAPS TV, to give us a very brief discussion of what goes on in Ventura, which is a long-standing program. You were in existence before the change in the franchise laws, I understand it. And I know you've spoken already to a group of people interested. So could you give us your view as a very experienced person in public access TV in our neighboring cities?
Sure.
Tell us who you are.
Yeah, my name is Todd Thayer. I'm the Executive Director of Community Access Partners of San Buenaventura, CAPS TV, or CAPS, in the City of Ventura. We are the access organization, the access operator for the City of Ventura. We are a public education and government PEG entity. We operate all three legs of the PEG tripod. We have a contract with the city to manage that. We manage two channels, Channel 6 and 15 in the city. So it's a little different than what you're looking to do. We have both operational and restricted capital funding through the city, both franchise and PEG fees. And so again, that's a slightly different scenario than what you have here. And I think the biggest thing, this is the third meeting that I've been asked to attend, that I would encourage you all is to perhaps look at a different method of spooling up the access operation itself. When Ventura approached this back in '99 and 2000, the city was part of spinning up a convening board, and they looked through the community for certain partners, and they developed a plan to launch a nonprofit entity for the specific purpose of managing access. Much of the problem, I think, without putting too fine a point on it, is everybody has a direction or a car that they want to put on the road. What you're really looking to do is to build the road. And so there's a need, I think, to step back and look at this as an infrastructure project. You are building infrastructure, much like a library or much like a park. And the policies, the governance and the operating policies that will manage this entity are the critical piece. The technology is easy. That's not where your attention should be focused right now. What you're talking about is who and what this is going to be to the community, and who and what you're going to serve back to the community. And so I guess if I had anything that I would encourage you as you go through this exercise is to identify stakeholders, identify a manner in which you're going to bring them together and put together a separate nonprofit specifically with the purpose of managing access in public access in Oxnard. And that's probably the, after doing this for about almost 11 years now, that's probably the single biggest thing I could say. Because otherwise you have other interests that are going to push and pull the process as it moves along.
So you're saying you have a separate nonprofit board devoted exclusively to this
Correct.
effort?
Yes. And there are some reasons fiscally, content-wise, legally, there's a lot of reasons that the city has looked and let the access company operate. If you get into doing political speech as we move into off-year elections, we're at arm's length from the city itself. With regard to mature content, we're at arm's length from the city as a cable operator. There are certain protections and there are certain things that having that arm's length distance between the city and other entities, quite honestly, if that is the purpose of it, it's a lot easier to deal with certain things that come along with public access.
Does the city censor programming?
Not at all.
And the board of directors, does it include any elected officials or people appointed by the city?
We have 4 designated institutional partners. So the city, the school district, the library, and the community college each have a designated representative that is a voting representative on the board. But
Is it an elected official or is it a?
no, it's staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the function of having the school representatives because you also run the educational
Correct.
panel?
So in this case, this community, it might be libraries would be a potential a public partner.
Our library is part of the city, unlike Ventura's library is part of the county system.
But even so, I think there's a public access and a First Amendment tie there that goes beyond generally speaking, a library's free speech position is going to be much more aligned with a public access organizations necessarily than maybe even the cities. So it's a potential partnership anyway.
So it's about identifying the stakeholders that would apply
Correct.
in our community.
Just to give you a little, we have 4 designated partners. We have 4 elected out of our membership. We are a membership-based nonprofit organization, and we have 5 appointed by the board for skills like accounting or marketing or other things.
It's a 501c3?
Correct.
So there's a total of how many on your board, Mr.
13.
13, okay, so there's a, so 4 partners, 4 members, 4 appointed,
5 appointed.
5 appointed, and
Right.
then.
That's it.
That's
4, 4, and 5.
I think it's great. I really want to thank you for coming. We just spoke like minutes ago and you were able to come. I really appreciate it. Would you be able to take some questions from
Certainly.
Mr. Sandoval?
Well, I don't have a question. I just think, for sake of getting this meeting on, we should either have a committee or have somebody talk to him and have everything written down and then present it in a very concise manner instead of, it just takes too long to really
Right.
find